Don't be boring. Goodness knows there's enough boring things in your life already. Meetings are boring, Zoom calls especially. Podcasts are boring, most of them, unless you're listening to Lex Friedman or Victoria Meyer. Check out the Chemical Show podcast. Pharma advertising is boring. Have you ever noticed how they're always dancing very, very slowly? Very boring. Anything written by artificial intelligence, boring. We've all had those emails or LinkedIn. And honestly, much of what passes for B2B marketing is very, very boring. If you're boring, you're disrespecting your customers' time and attention, and that is an awful way to build a relationship. Don't get sued. That's an obvious one, I guess. You'd probably want to avoid that. However, caution, if you hew too closely to that admonition, you're going to end up as what? Boring. So look, don't be afraid. Have courage in your convictions, in your products, in your services. Say what you mean, and you won't get sued, and you won't be boring. Don't be vague. Look, merely saying great things about your products or your services or your company, that's not enough. You got to be specific. You got to say what the product's for, what it does, who it's for. Lay things out. If you're talking about sustainability, for example, talk about the supply chain from cradle to grave, or at least from cradle to gate, and be specific. Give people information they can use and data that's verified and it's backed. Otherwise, you're going to be vague. And if you're vague, guess what? You're also boring. Believe. Now look, this is not a Ted Lasso thing, although it was a great TV program, not boring. You got to believe your marketing, because if you don't, how do you expect anyone else to? And so you should probably stop saying things like this. Don't say sustainability is in our DNA, because guess what? It probably isn't, unless you're one of the founding members of, let's say, 7th generation or something. Quality is job one. Really? Is it? Our people are our greatest assets. Are they really? I mean, if they are, that's great, if you really believe that. So you've got to find that intersection, right, of things that your customers and your prospects find interesting and meaningful, and the overlap between that and things that you actually believe. And if you can't find an overlap, if there's nothing in there, then you probably should think about what you're doing for a living. Very important to believe. Be your customer and their customer. Walk a mile in their shoes. Meet them where they live. Some of those cliches actually make a lot of sense. Now, we have an advantage in the surfactant industry and the ingredients industry of being involved in products which end up in the hands of consumers just like us. So get curious again about the consumer experience, what your customers are tracking all the time. Get curious again about what's on the back of the label, what it reads like, what it sounds like. And always think about what you're communicating. Is it adding value to your customers, and does it help them add value to their customers? So track the popular culture. What's going on in the consumer markets? What regular people think about when they use the products that your ingredients are in. And again, think about adding that value. If you're adding value, guess what? You're not boring. And it all comes back to that first point. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this useful.